Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I'm talking about Fast and Furious. I'm talking about Fate of the Furious, Fast and Furious 8. There are major spoilers in this content. So one of the things I want to talk today about Brian. So basically, in this movie, Dom is turned against his own team by the villain Cypher, and the way she makes Dom serve her is she captures Elena and Dom's son. Okay, so Elena was, I believe, from Fast and Furious 5, and she was essentially a law enforcement officer, and Dom ended up having Dom thought that Letty was dead at the time. Okay, so when he thought that she was dead, he had this essentially a one-night stand with this woman Elena, and at that point he didn't know it, but he had a child. So so he has a young son. His son is about 1 year old. Looks to be about 1 year old. Really cute, small baby child. And of course it's a son. So Elena is kidnapped, and she's on this plane. And Cypher gives him a moment to talk with her, and she says, "Hey Dom, this is your son." And he says, "Well, what's his name?" And at that point, Elena says, his middle name is Marcos, but he doesn't have a first name. I thought that his father should give him his first name. So Dom doesn't say anything, and then Cypher's like, "You got to do what I want you to do," and sends him on this plan to steal a nuclear weapon and an EMP device, and like a lot of world-shaking events, right? So at that point, Dom goes about his business. Well, of course, Dom is able to free his son, and is able to free his son. Frank helps with that, and he actually gets his son at the end of the movie. So at the end of the movie, they have what they've had at the end of a lot of Fast and Furious films, which is the family meal. So so at that point, what you have is you have all the characters gathering together in this beautiful location, this really nice location. It's actually a rooftop within New York, gorgeous, really beautiful place. And as soon as they put it on screen, I'm there with my 13-year-old daughter, and it was a little embarrassing, and I just tears just started coming down my face because I knew what was coming, right? And so they have the whole team gathered there, and you see the baby brought in, right, by Letty, and at that point, Dom is gathers everybody together, and he says, "Hey, I want you guys all to meet my son." And he holds up his son, and he says Brian, right? And he's naming his son. And of course, if you've watched the Fast and Furious movies, Brian is Paul Walker's character, and I just tears were just streaming down my face. And and if you know Dom, if you know his character, you know what he's going to name that child, right? And it was really emotional because I have watched every single Fast and Furious movie that's ever been made, and I've seen them on opening night in the theaters, right? So these started in 2001, right? And that's a long time. 2001 is a very long time to be watching movies. It's 16 years now. So, they've been making a Fast and Furious movie about every 2 years now, and I've seen them all, right? And the vast majority of them have Paul Walker in them, and his character, Brian. So on Fast and Furious 7, it was really hard watching, Paul Walker on screen because he died in the middle of the movie, and they had to finish the movie with using his brother for motion capture, and they had to digitally place his face onto his brother, right? And they ended Fast and Furious 7 with him, with Paul Walker in a white Porsche, driving off in the sunset. He literally looked like an angel. It was crazy, and it made me cry because I've seen these movies for 16 years, right? So not only do I see the Fast and Furious movies, but I have 2 years to think about each Fast and Furious movie before the next one comes. And not only am I excited, so not only am I blown away when I see them in the movies, I'm thinking about them for a year after the movies. And then I'm thinking about the next one as the trailers come out. So, Fast and Furious takes a lot of my brain space, right? And I didn't realize this, but it's starting to take a lot of my emotional heart space, because these movies are very touching, and they really are about family, right? And I think there are a lot of reviewers out there, Patrick H. William is one of them, who really think these movies are kind of a joke, and that they're and I've heard terms like ridiculous attached to them. What they are is they're action movies, and sometimes they're a little over the top, just a little over the top, right? But they're grounded in reality, and at the kernel of these films is an incredible story about friends and family, and friends who consider each other family, right? Which is kind of a deep message. Now, I'm incredibly blessed. I actually don't need to consider my friends my family, because, I actually have a real family. My family loves me, and I'm incredibly blessed in that way. I consider my friends friends, and, but I know there are people out there who have had a very hard life, are not as blessed as I am, and this idea of choosing friends to be your family is important to them, and I can certainly understand it, right? But, one thing that really blew me away is if you watch Fast and Furious 7, you were seeing cars fly from one building to another. But at the end of the movie, if you had seen all the films and you understood the Fast and Furious franchise, then what you were really seeing is you were seeing, like, the farewell of a longtime friend. And that had emotional impact, right? And here we are at Fast and Furious 8. And there's a lot of reviewers that are looking at it and thinking it's not that, thinking it's not a serious film. It's a very serious film in that it really has emotional resonance. But that emotional resonance only happens if you come to the films and enjoy them genuinely, not ironically, and not, there's a shiny car and here's some action parts. If you're paying attention to the story, there's amazing writing and an amazing story in the Fast and Furious movies. I love these movies unapologetically, genuinely. These are great movies. And, and if you are coming at them and meeting them in the way that the movies are made, you can see that there's an incredible story here. And, when Dom holds up his son at the end of Fate 8 and says, "Meet Brian," man, that was some waterworks. I'm just really blessed to be seeing Fate 8. And I'm really blessed to have this movie series in my life. And it was really nice to share it with my daughter for the first time. And it's a great, great movie. And, I really miss Paul Walker. I miss his character, Brian. And I was really super happy to see this film. And you could not have written a better ending to Fast and Furious 8 if you had tried. It was amazing. Thank you.